6.5 hours.
Oh,
He was out of there.
He's like,
some of this I'm done.
So, it was electric. Hey, and Brian's not here today.
I believe that's correct.
did you
yeah.
give secondary talk on power plant?
Ready, good to go?
Power plants too?
All righty.
No, I'm gonna do.
Well, hello, everybody. We'll get started here. It's Monday, October 6th at 4 o'clock, and we'll call to order our Board of Directors meeting for the Holland Board of Public Works. Janet, we have a roll call, please.
Malou,
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Couch,
Here?
Lily,
Here.
Lynn, Ingbers,
Here.
Corbin, Van Beek.
Here. We have a quorum for the record. Can we have an action on our agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda is stated.
Second.
Motion by Baloo, second by Lily, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda. At this time, we'll open up to communications from the audience, providing opportunity for anybody who would like to communicate to the board, requesting that they state their name and address for the record and adhere to a 5-minute limit. Any communications from the audience today? Hearing none, we'll close that and turn it over to the general manager for the consent agenda.
Good afternoon. This afternoon, we just have a couple of items on the consent agenda. The first one is a request for the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of September 8 and the special meeting of September 22. And second item is a request for the acceptance of a grant of utility easement that's being provided by Maplewood Village Condominium Association, and that's for the installation of Holland City Fiber. Those are the two items for your consideration on the consent agenda this afternoon.
Move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second. It's a motion by Lilly, second by Engbergs. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda passes.
All right, again, by kind of exception here, I'll talk a little bit about major projects update. Just a reminder that, and hopefully you're all finding this available on the board SharePoint page and able to peruse it periodically. If you had any questions, certainly happy to answer, but I'll just highlight a couple of things here. Holland City Fiber now, fiberhood number 8, which is, again, getting to the western end of our service area in the city, is now substantially complete, and drop construction is being scheduled. I think we have a fairly high amount of demand in that area, so excited to get those customers on board with us. But as of October 1, we're already up to about just over 2,500 customers now that are getting the services of Holland City Fiber. That equates to about $130,000 per month at this point. So again, continuing to build that, and hopefully you're very soon.
Very happy customer.
Oh, good. All right, he's on board now. Excellent. Good. That's great to hear. Yeah. 17th Street lift station, just kind of pointing out, there's a couple of things here that are really starting to begin in October here. That the construction of 17th Street lift station rehabilitation work is one of those. Also, Bricado lift station rehab. That's a much shorter duration, much smaller station, but that's also slated to begin here mid-October. And also some work on the pipe bursting here that's going to be planned for Grasscop. And then the other thing I was going to really mention here, also nearing completion, is the raw pumps at the lift or at the water reclamation facility. Scroll down a little bit more. I think they're down there. Did I go too far? I went too. There they are. Raw pumps. Just a couple of remaining punch list tasks here, and those should be up and running and project closed out here pretty quick as well for that one. So other than that, things are kind of in progress or fairly early on yet, but happy to answer any questions anybody has otherwise the things they saw on the project list.
Looks good.
If there are none, we can move on then to the regular agenda, which very pleased to start off with an introduction here, actually introducing our finance director team. Again, the transition with Chuck and Janessa, appreciate the collaboration. One of the things that they're working on in addition to the audit process is a collaborative effort with City Holland. So again, thanks to Lynn McCammon over at the city and her work in this process as well. But we are reaching the time frame of the expiration of our combined coverage that we have with property and liability. between the City of Holland and the BPW. That again is a renewal that's slated to happen on November 1. And so I'm going to turn it over to Chuck here a minute. Maybe if you, I don't know if you have any introductory comments, or certainly to introduce our special guest here this afternoon. So Chuck?
Yeah, good afternoon. We have a pretty successful renewal to talk about, and we have a representative here from Marsh to help lead us through it. There's a lot of moving parts, and it can be a little bit confusing, especially when you look at the coverage towers. But we had we've got better coverage basically at a lower price this year, which is not something we normally can say when we renew the insurance. So that was it was a good year for that. With us is Ben Kaufman. He's a senior VP at Marsh. And in fact, he's a local resident, live in Park Township. So, and don't hold that against him. And he's gonna lead us through the renewal process.
Thank you, Chuck. Yes, I didn't know there was a north side and south side until I moved here. And people would say, where do you live? I'm like, well, I don't know. But I am confident now I'm on the north side. Whoops, sorry. Can you get that back to the beginning? Putting the mic in, I moved it forward. Thank you. So we'll keep this brief. I know you guys like to move things along efficiently, but I am a BPW customer for water. I live in that part of Park Township, which I appreciate the work you all do. I toured the water recovery facility with Chuck this summer, and my children have toured the water treatment facility, bringing it in from Lake Michigan as part of school. They go to Black River schools here, so we're glad to be part of the community. As Chuck was mentioning, this is what we call a program schematic. These are the various lines of insurance coverage that you buy and share with the City of Holland in one way or another. So there's a lot going on here, but it's meant to just give you a simple look at what the deductibles are. The retention is another word for deductible along the bottom, and then what the coverage lines are, and basically how high the limits are for each of those coverages. This year versus last year, there's no major changes in the structure, so this chart is going to look very similar. This is the expiring one. The one that we will provide your team after November 1st will look very similar to this, other than the pollution liability, the tallest bar on the right side that has $20 million in Hamilton. The carrier name will change, but the limits will stay the same, and the deductible retention will stay the same. But we have added that to be a 3-year term, so you won't be paying premium for the next 2 years on that line of coverage. And it now has an additional coverage, which is the pollution products liability for the biosolids that are distributed for agricultural purposes. Okay, any questions on that one? There's a lot going on, but it's no major changes year to year. Okay, this is the executive summary where we just want to call out the highlights of what happened in this renewal. We worked successfully with Lynn and Chuck and Janessa we started in the middle of the summer, gathering information and then talking to the insurance marketplace to figure out what was going to be the best way forward and the most cost effective. And everything came back less than expected, and some much less has been noted. We would normally be expecting rate increases from 5 to 12% for a program like yours this size. Now, rate is then multiplied by the exposure when coming up with insurance premium. And so the exposure could be your revenues, could be the insured values of your buildings, the number of vehicles and the value of the vehicles. So there's a number of factors that go in. So when we're talking rate, that means what the insurance company is charging times whatever your exposure is. So your actual total net premium increase was less than 3% this year, combined for the two entities, with the total increase being $58,142. So revenue was strong, the City of Holland being up 27%, the BPW up 7%. So those are the things that'll tend to make insurance premiums rise. So we outperformed those. The property values on the shared property program, not the one that's placed in the summertime for the energy park, but the combined city BPW, the reported values were up 12%, and the carrier reduced their rate by 9% to make it a minimal renewal rate. The strong safety culture in your operations earned a 3.8% decrease in workers' compensation premium. even though payroll was up nearly $2 million. So that is, that's strong evidence of the culture that you have here with your employees. The environmental, we've already talked about briefly, and then we just want to say we're grateful for the opportunity to partner with BPW in the city, and we remain committed to bringing good risk management solutions and carrier relationships to you all. Any questions on any of these lines before we look at the table? Okay. Okay. This is the entire summary of the lines of insurance that were that are in a position to be renewed now. We have our final quotes from all the players, and once we have the board's approval, we're able to move forward. So I know this is a part that was in the packet that you may have had a little more time to digest. If there's any questions specifically on those, otherwise I can call out some other specifics about your insurance program.
Again, structurally very similar. I think one of the things is kind of a nice add-on this year. The pollution coverage is actually decreasing for us, but we're also getting some additional coverage in the biosolids area that we sought to ensure that we had built into that as well, and that was a good response to get that. But yeah, I mean, overall, if you look at the values that we're increasing on some of our property as well, you know, it's again strong evidence that it's a good market renewal, given the fact that, you know, our valuations were up and our revenues were up as much as they were.
Yes.
How many of these went out to the market versus just renewing with an individual carrier?
The way that we would tend to approach the market is we look at what the initial feedback is from the carrier, and if they're coming back with a response, I'm sorry if I'm too close to this. Or
I don't know. We're checking
Okay.
on that. I don't know if there's anything given feedback.
And so so depending on the market feedback is when we'll start to say, okay, do you want to maintain a relationship with the client or not? So that is part of the trying to reduce the commoditization of the program. And then it also depends on how long we've been in a market. So for example, the pollution we marketed broadly because that was one that hasn't been looked at in a couple of years, and we wanted to get some more expansive feedback because we're also, the issue came up about the biosolids product liability coverage, and we wanted to see if that were possible in the marketplace. So that went out more broadly. The property, Chubb has been a good partner, and they came back with a strong renewal, willing to lower their rate, and so we were able to maintain our relationship with them. Same thing with the workers' compensation coverage. That's been a successful program, and they, in spite of the payroll increase, were willing to come back with an almost 4% decrease on their premium. The excess liability was a similar story. The carriers initially came back anywhere from 10 to 15% on their renewal, and we said, listen, your primary carrier, Ambridge, so they're the ones that carry your general liability, your police liability, your property program, your auto, the initial layers of that, they came back at 6.8%. We said, well, if you can't get close to that, that means you're not really committed to being part of this program, and we're going to have to start looking a little more broadly. And that was when they were willing to sharpen their pencil and came back at 7.1% was the combined excess liability. So those are kind of the levers that we pull when we're trying to decide whether or not it's time to market a program. And if there's feedback from the client that says, you know, we really have a hard time when it comes to claims or communication or invoicing, those are where we'll start to say, okay, maybe it's time to find a better fit for what the operations are. So all that to say, pollution was the only one that was marketed broadly this year.
Looks good.
Any other questions? Thank you for that question.
Again, Ben has more slides if you wanted to dive in any of those particular areas, but if you were satisfied with kind of the executive summary and the overview and the table, again, it's more of a Q&A at this point, but again, if you want to dive deeper into any of those particular areas, there's a little bit more information in the slide deck yet.
One more question, and I scroll down into the the cyber side, what, for the limits that we have carried, Dave, does MPPA give feedback on this, the size coverage we should be carrying? What are most other?
No, actually, we had some opportunity last year to raise those limits, and actually took advantage of it last year. You know, for a period of time, there was a very, very tough market for being able to get cyber coverage at all. And then now we're starting to see a little bit of a willingness to and some more normalization on that. So last year, we actually took advantage of that and increased our coverage amount. That wasn't so much of an MPPA thing, but it was based upon information that Marsh had been able to collect about comparable sized organizations, and that's what led us to the recommendation last year to bring our level of coverage up. And so, I mean, you know, we can continue to explore that. I think we're comfortable where we are right now at this point, but you know, I do think it's something to continue to look at based upon what news is out there and what kind of you know, claims are coming in other areas and exposures that seem to come from that. So I think we had a big move last year, and it's sort of kind of a reevaluate after that, I think, at this point.
I remember some of that discussion. I'm just wondering if the 5 million's enough, but.
Yeah, no, it's a
I'm
great,
not-
it's a
I'm
great
not the
question.
expert. It's not, I'm not
Yeah,
trying to bring it down.
And maybe
It just-
I'd put Ben on the spot here, but I mean, I know a lot of that evaluation last year came from a little bit of work that, you know, Marsh had done to take a look at some comparables and
Yeah, and we'd be
make
happy to
recommendations off
benchmark it
it.
again and provide some information for a study session if that would be helpful. But that was, yeah, last year, I believe both limits were evened out at 5 million last year. One was at 2 million and one was at 5 million the year prior, I believe. And so it's kind of, seems like it's been a process to get the limits up a little bit more. So it's certainly worth looking into if there's any concern, and we can go to work on that.
I think this kind of aligns with what you've heard on,
yeah,
and our end also when talking with our IT staff and kind of what we're seeing in the government market, if you would, but certainly continues to be a lot of discussion and like appropriate raised awareness to make sure that this is an area that we stay on top of.
Yeah, sure. And to Kyle's point there, that these have been the rates for the last 2 years. They've been relatively flat, and that has not been the case for the 5 years leading up to that. It seemed like every year it was just getting worse and worse and worse. So what that allows us to do for you is to find time to either add coverages that were carved out to reduce pricing, to increase limits or lower retentions, to basically beef up the program in some way that allows you to do that at a more cost-effective way to do that. So when we look at this year and say, oh, the rate should be 0%, that's, again, looking at rate because of the primary exposure basis for cyber insurance is revenue. So to look at the increase in revenue for the BPW as well as the City of Holland, and to still have flat renewal rates means the insurance companies are cutting their rate in order to maintain their relationship with you. So that's what we like to see.
I appreciate the question, though. I think we can certainly take that back and you know, come back to you with a little bit more analysis. But Keith is right. I mean, last year we spent a lot of time with this because we had the opportunity. We're like, okay, but you know, how do we sort of figure out what's the sweet spot here? What's the right amount? You know, because if you can always buy more, doesn't mean that you should just buy more. I mean, and so just trying to figure out what that is, and that's, you know, I think we had a lot of that conversation last year that led us to the recommendation we were at, but it certainly is worthy of continued evaluation and discussion, so.
Okay, we'll go to work on that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
If not, there is a recommendation, if you can go back to the, thanks, Ben.
Yeah, thank you.
So just pulling that up here for the
I have it in front of me.
group. There's a recommendation from staff to approve the combined coverage with the city as being presented by Marsh with a total cost not to exceed $2,096,939 plus taxes and fees. And there's an allocation in there as well. And I will tell you that allocation process I think is again very similar. The table might be in the packet. I can't remember if that table is in the packet, but That one, again, follows a very similar sort of allocation process. Yeah, that one right there. So, yeah, if you can see there, BPWs, as Chuck said, even though there's a 58 or 56,000 number increase overall, the BPWs portion of that is actually going down slightly. So, down from a 1.254 million down to 1.243 million. But again, very similar allocation processes in play here. But there's a couple of those coverages like pollution that are BPW only coverages there that you're seeing. So if there's
Motion to approve the
Sorry.
recommendation is stated by Dave.
yeah, just tell me when you've heard enough. Yeah.
About 5 minutes ago.
Thank you.
No, bravo, you did a
Perfect.
good job.
Yeah.
Second by Lily. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
All right. Thank you. All right. I'll make it very short on this next one. Bucket truck, Steve. All right.
Boy,
What do you mean, 1920?
blowing my hair back. We're
Yeah.
going so fast.
Thanks, Dave. Good afternoon. This recommendation is twofold. One, for a budget amendment to the electric distribution capital budget, but also to approve a purchase order with LTEC for a new small bucket used in the electric distribution system. This particular truck, truck number 49, was actually budgeted and approved in 2025. The purchase order was never issued. We never followed through with it. The truck at the time and still is running fairly decently. The expenses in 2025 were low. Then when we came to fiscal year 26, somehow this particular line item got left off. Got mixed in with a lot of 49 West, different lines for 49 West. And when I looked at the budget, I said, yep, looks good. And so it's my fault for leaving it off. So we're back here again today. In 2025, the original budget approved then was $350,000. We put that dollar amount there based on what we were seeing at the time. For trucks like this, this is a Ford F-550. So a small bucket truck. Mainly we maintain streetlights, traffic signals, metering systems with this particular truck. The My Deals was also utilized with this particular truck. Any other questions?
I did have a question. The note about the hybrid option, being that substantial 25% more, is that like a strategy that we were embracing to move toward, or?
So in our purchasing policy, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's around 15%. As long as the hybrid or the electric vehicle option is within 15%, we try to utilize that. This hybrid option for this truck was significantly more than that, so we decided not to utilize that. We do have a fair amount of hybrid bucket trucks. Currently, right now, we have a small bucket truck like this that is a hybrid. I'm going to say it's a little bit on and off again on the reliability of that hybrid piece. And so we decided, just due to cost and the usage of this truck, we're not going to utilize that option. A lot of times, this particular truck also sits out in the middle of intersections. So to have the truck off, trying to utilize that system, it's just easy enough just to let the vehicle run for the small amount of time it's sitting in the intersection.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, to answer your first question, yes, you have a policy. The city also, we collectively through the community energy plan processes, one of the things that we had committed to was a alternative fuel policy for vehicles and equipment. And so, part of that policy is, just as Steve said, if you look at either the duty of it not being, that the market doesn't have a solution that really meets the duty requirements, or if there is a cost that exceeds a certain amount over amount on a life cycle basis or upfront capital amount, there's two things that we look at there, then we can go apart from or essentially not do a hybrid or electrification type of vehicle. And so that's the evaluation that's being made here in the recommendation. But if that meets the duty and it also meets the cost that's identified in the policy that you've adopted, then, you know, that's when we do move forward on electrification and alternative fuel otherwise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the bucket truck? Could we have a motion on the recommendation?
I move that we accept the recommendation from staff as it's been stated for the acquisition of a new bucket truck.
And the capital budget amendment.
Oh, yes, and to amend the capital budget accordingly in the amount of $218,958.
Second.
So motion by Lily, second by Maloof. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this next one, we usually wouldn't have on the regular agenda. This would often be something that was on the consent agenda. But for a couple reasons tonight, chose to keep that on the regular agenda. First of all, appreciate Janet every year puts this calendar together for you. And if you can pull up the actual calendar, maybe it's easier. Let's do that. You'll note if you've taken a peek in here today, this calendar follows the same process that we have been using up till this point, which is that our regular meeting follows the first city council meeting in a month. So it's kind of strange, but we're the Monday following the first Wednesday in the month is our regular meeting. And then our study sessions have been the fourth Monday. You will see some asterisks next to some of the dates, and that is because either there is a conflict with a holiday, or maybe there's something else that's causing a conflict. And then there's 1 month in the case of December, and we did this year, and we've done it the year before. It seems to work pretty well to combine into one meeting, and that's because there's a lot of vacations and holiday planning going on around in December as well. So we're following with that same process. The other thing that's of note here, and there is a lot of verbiage, Janet asked me about it at the bottom, you'll notice that, and it's fine to have a lot of verbiage, I think, but we are, as you know, I think you know, or maybe you've forgotten, our capital plans here, we are going to be modifying part of our lobby to make some changes within the customer service area. And so that's going to take this room out of use because we're going to be moving some customer service staff and actually operating some of the customer service activities in this room during the first half of this calendar year coming up. So fortunately, and thank you to Mallory and Keith and others at City Hall, they have graciously made City Council chambers available to us for our regular meetings. We are thinking about using actually the fairly large room at 49 West. There's still availability for public to be there. We'll still notice it that way, but we would use that. That's the building that Magna occupies half of it now, and our finance staff is in the other half. It's a very nice large conference room there that we could utilize for our study sessions. And so that is how we have that set up. So that's one reason that this is on the regular agenda. The other is more of just a reminder, I think, than anything, and that is that these meetings are not specified for those dates and times by charter or any other particular requirement. And so it may be just healthy just to check in as well with this group to say, is this working? You know, is a 4 o'clock time frame on Mondays working? Staff is flexible. I mean, we can move earlier in the day, we can move later, we can move to morning. I mean, it really is up to you. And so I think that's part of it, and if you're not prepared to answer that question today, that's fine too. But didn't want to just go through this and not, you know, at least take time out to make sure that you had a chance to sort of express your opinion about when the meeting times are. And so I'm gonna
Keep the same.
Keep the same. I think having it at 4 o'clock lets things happen earlier in the day and you can get here. So if you did it in the morning, I'd just be substituting something else, you know, so for me, it's good.
speaking maybe for Brian who's in here, those in business who have to travel, sometimes if the meeting were in the morning, we could still catch a Monday afternoon flight to go to wherever we might have to go
Yeah.
out of town. I
Yeah.
would just bring that up.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to Brian, seems to be, accustomed to what we're doing here, as I am.
Yeah, I would generally agree, as long as you guys give me some patience on the Monday evening activities throughout the year, kids' sports and transport always becomes a little bit of a, so as long as I'm in good graces there, then the time works fine. I wouldn't be opposed to earlier if folks wanted, but.
Yeah, like I said, staff is amenable to wherever you want to go with this, and so if you wanted to try 3, if you wanted to try 3:30, if you wanted to, whatever you wanted to do. One thing we'll have to do for the council, I don't imagine there's going to be earlier in the day council chamber limitations, but if we went later into the evening, that might cause some things. But I think we're in pretty good shape for Monday
we should be
evenings. Yeah, so I think we're good wherever you want to go. And again, we don't have to answer it today 100%, but I want to at least tee it up. And if you said, hey, maybe let's try something different, we're certainly fine with that. So it's really more of what works for you than works for staff. We'll make sure that we're ready whenever you are. So
I'm inclined to suggest that we go ahead with the recommendation.
Okay.
And go ahead and finalize it.
okay, and then we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
If during
see
the
how it
year,
goes. Yeah.
there's a change of heart or whatever, let us know. And again, the requirement for posting these meetings is we can always put this out to say, hey, we've had a change. And we can also, as long as we're within the public meeting posting time frame, which I think is 16 hours, or 18 hours rather. I thought it was 18 anyway, somewhere in that. It's very, very modest time frame, so we can change it if we need to, basically. So, but if you're comfortable with that, then the recommendation is written for you to adopt the calendar, and I think that's the way it's written there, approve the calendar. So.
Motion to approve the calendar year 2026 board meeting schedule.
Second.
Motion by Maloof, second by Lily. Any further discussion?
All I ask is that in the months that I'm in Florida, that you don't move the study sessions, because I'm planning on flying back for those.
Yeah.
So, once you pick a date, please don't move the date. I will be in worse trouble at home. Anyhow.
Duly noted.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Good
thank you.
consideration.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you very
Calendar's
much.
approved. Thank
Good,
you.
Thank you. Okay, no other business from staff, unless there's other business from the board here. I can move into communications from the general manager if you'd like.
Can I ask, this isn't a
Yeah,
giant question, but other than flying back, can we not Teams him in?
it's a great question, and it's
I
a
mean,
question
if I
that
can
has been
I'll
asked.
take 20% of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
savings from this.
Brilliant.
The issue really is, and we've
not a
asked the city
companion
attorney this, it would be an Open Meetings Act violation to do that. So,
In a study session?
yeah, to participate
In a
in,
study session?
yeah, participate in a public meeting where you're deliberating towards a future policy decision. So even though you may not be acting in that meeting, if you are deliberating towards a future policy action, then that constitutes a requirement for it to be in the Open Meetings Act. And to participate in there, the city attorney has weighed in that in-person is the only way to participate in that meeting. And so now, and the other piece of it, study sessions are a little different because you have, and I think on the staff's recommendation too, and it follows suit with the way the city does it, we broadcast these meetings. We don't broadcast, and the city doesn't broadcast study sessions. Study sessions are a little bit more, there's not a final decision, it's more kind of, say, conversational even. And so we've had an approach of, having those be, not available from a public viewing standpoint. So the only way Dave could really see those when he would be away is if he actually asked somebody to come in and film you, which he could do. But yeah, it's very, unfortunately, the rigors of the Open Meetings Act are really what are prohibiting, that sort of situation.
Well, I'm making light of Dave, but it's really not just for him. I was asking for a friend.
Yeah. Just in case.
I tried,
Yeah.
but
Just in
it's been
case,
asked
so
before.
Yeah.
I'll take the sting off of you.
Yeah.
No, it would give a lot of flexibility, even if we couldn't participate?
It would, yeah.
That we could still observe?
Here, let me tell you a little background and history, and that is, what's interesting is that prior to COVID, there was more ambiguity in the way the Open Meetings Act was written, so that actually interpretation that was done by the Attorney General's office back then and what was actually administered in some other areas, including Grand Haven Board of Light and Power, for example, was that as long as there was a quorum present in person, the other members could participate remotely. They had somebody that wintered in Arizona all the time, and that individual would participate remotely. And under the old language of the Open Meetings Act, that was, fine. At least it was the way it was interpreted. Once COVID happened, there was a specific call out for what could happen as or when remote meetings could happen, because they were dealing with the pandemic. That specific carve out actually created a lot of clarity and took away the ambiguity that existed prior to that time frame. And so with that ambiguity gone, there is much more clarity on now what participation means, and that's why City Attorney's Office has weighed in as they have on it. So,
Welcome to our world.
yeah,
I try.
yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate it. PJ's tried, several people have tried.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am what I am.
I think you're still are you still on discussion, or have they weighed in at this point?
All teed up for the
Yeah.
audit committee on
Oh, you have, yeah.
the 27th?
Yeah, so we are, yeah, sorry, we're back on communications now, yes. So the next meeting that we have with all of you is October 27 is your next meeting. It will be a special meeting. Prior to that meeting, the audit committee will be meeting with the auditors. I think, and I'll get you the specific time, but I believe it's 2 o'clock that
2 o'clock,
afternoon, if
I
I'm
have
not
the
mistaken.
invite in
So,
front of me.
then our meeting will be at 4 o'clock for the full board. That meeting will be a special meeting because you'll be hearing the audit presentation. Also, we deal with the variable pay award at that same meeting. So that's coming up here on October 27th. Other things that I have, just a quick update on insurance for health insurance update. Just letting you know that we are progressing well with the transition to the West Michigan pool. Documentation that's been authorized through your resolutions that you adopted to join the pool and change agency of record and everything like that have taken place. More further work has been done on evaluating the claim history and also the plan design. Plan design is very much aligned with where we were this last year, so there are very similar offerings, which is good for employees that are transitioning in and will help in our communication around open enrollment. As expected, there would be some modification of rates based upon the claim history. We did get our overall, I think as you heard at those meetings, 4.66% increase for the combined city and BPW. But based upon claim history, that is actually a higher claim history at the BPW than at the city. And so based upon that evaluation, along with some additional evaluation of what the high cost claims were within the last 24 months, we've reached the point where we have those rates adjusted for both the city and the BPW. And we've also evaluated those based upon the Public Act 152, which is a compliance requirement at the state that has a certain cap on health insurance programs. And good news is all of our single, dual, and family are compliant with the Public Act 152. So again, everything is moving forward here, and a reminder that even though some of our rates from a claim history are going up, City BPW structurally, again, are saving money because of the way the pool operates versus our third-party, catastrophic loss coverage that we've had and other prescription program economies that are involved with going with the pool. So again, that's a little update on where we are with the health insurance. If there's any questions on that, if not, also wanted to give you an update that last week the city did also exercise its rights underneath the rights of first refusal on Verhaeg. And so that begins the due diligence period. The city authorized through its actions that exercising of rights. Also, we have paid the escrow deposit requirement of $20,000, and we started a due diligence period of 90 days. We're preparing correspondence that will start the environmental questionnaires and the phase 1 and ultimately Phase 2 work associated with that site. So as we learn more, I'll keep you informed of where we are as we go through that process. So last thing I'm just going to mention is today is the start of Public Power Week. And so for those listening at home, celebrating the value of public power and what it brings to the community. The data shows very clearly that there's increased reliability in our public power communities, lower rates, and also we support our community in other ways, including direct dividend support. If you look at Holland specifically, in the year 2023, our increased reliability, again, MMEA's tool that it used, where it used the Berkeley Labs tool to evaluate what the value of reliability means to our businesses and to our residents, that has about a $14.8 million impact in 1 year based upon the increased reliability that we have. And that is excluding major event days. So that is just the normal outages that we have, not the major catastrophic ones that can occur out there, such as ice storms and things like that occur. Our lower rates for Holland BPW in 1 year mean about $14 million value to our community. And that is just in the residential, rates. Dividend support was about $8.5 million that went from the BPW to the city. So collectively, just in those factors alone, about $37.3 million value proposition for having a locally owned electric utility. Don't you ever forget it. No, you won't. I know. Anyway, so it's really good to be able to highlight that. And we're also excited to have some programs this week, including on Thursday, October 9 from 5 to 7 at Holland Energy Park. There's an open house there, so there's tours available. There's some energy-themed games, scavenger hunt, cider and donuts, coloring contest, I think some trail walk with some potential candy to be obtained along the trail, which is always fun. And then on Friday, Customer Appreciation Day here at the Service Center, October 10 that is, on Friday, and that'll go from 10 o'clock till around 4 p.m., donuts, other giveaways, and then also you can learn some things as it relates to improvements in your home or electrification opportunities and things like that. So very excited to be able to celebrate Public Power Week this week. The other thing I would mention, and I can try to get you the link, appreciate the city drawing attention to it. We have some paid or part-time firefighters on our payroll. It was a really cool story. People that are in our water and wastewater services area, I think primarily in the water services area, but they are spending their days doing a lot of work, on the benefit of our customers here at the BPW. But then, as needed, if they have a call, they also drop what they're doing and they go and respond to emergencies that happen in our community. And it was a really cool video that the city put together that highlighted the career arc for these individuals, and especially for some of them, how this is in their blood and in their family, and over the years, fathers and grandfathers and other family members that have been involved with this. So it's really a pretty cool story. I can try to get you the link for the video so you can see that. So
they are participating with the Holland Fire Department?
Correct. Yes.
That's really cool.
So that's all I have this afternoon.
Any communications from the board? Hearing none, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
If you get the City of Holland newsletter, there's a link